Hello and welcome back to my channel. Today is a good day for us comic book action figure video game nerds. Today is PulseCon, and a lot of cool toy news got announced today for all of us to enjoy. A lot of stuff I don't typically care about: the Star Wars, the Transformers, the GI Joes, Power Rangers, all that stuff. I unfortunately will not be covering because it's not stuff I personally care about. If you are into that stuff, please by all means go watch the HasLab, the Hasbro PulseCon video. It's about 5 hours long, but you can skip through it and find the stuff you care about. It was a fun watch, entertaining watch for those who care about that type of stuff. But I'm more of a Marvel Legends guy, so I'm just going to cover that stuff, the stuff I care about. And we got a lot of cool stuff. Not a ton of stuff, to be clear. We just got a few things. We got two waves announced, and then I think like maybe one or two extra characters outside of those waves. So I guess we'll go ahead and cover it for you guys watching. The first thing they did is they talked about the what are they called? The figures, the fan figures where you can insert your own face onto a Marvel character of your choice, a Marvel character that you may be into. It's the 2.0. It's a little bit better than the first go around, which the first go around I saw was a little bit iffy. This one looks a little bit stronger than the initial run. It's still a little bit too pricey for me to be interested in it, but it is something maybe down the line, maybe for like a birthday or a Christmas or something. Oh, dude, I kind of want to get like the Spider-Man just because I am such a big Spider-Man fan. I'm just not the biggest fan of the costume they chose for the Spider-Man. It's black and red. It's the movie costume. I'd rather the comic book costume, rather blue and red. I'd rather more the more articulated body, stuff like that. So nothing too interesting there. But the next thing they talked about is a little bit more interesting. It is more news on the Giant Man. Of course, we saw it got announced not too long ago, and I personally think this thing looks amazing. I haven't backed it yet. Obviously, it's been one of those slow months where money is a little less accessible. So I do hope to get it before we run out of time. We do have a little bit longer. I wish we had a little bit more time. We're a little less than halfway. Starting to get maybe a little bit worried this won't get funded, but fingers crossed. I do think this figure looks amazing, and I would love to have it eventually. But they gave us some more news on it, some more reassurances, like the antennas. I know some people, some nerds might have been a little concerned because the antennas were the wrong color. I noticed that too. I was like, well, that's not how it looks in the comics, but whatever. I don't care. It's not that big of an issue. But they did announce it comes in both colors. It comes in the white variant and the black variant, so that is pretty decently cool. They also did something. I guess they had this new way of doing the eyeballs, where they have the eyeballs, and then they have the actual render of the eyes further in, so it has more of a like 3D effect. It's a more highly detailed version of the eyeballs, and while they were making the face, they realized that they could take out the eyeballs, and in doing so give us different versions of eyeballs. So when he's standing over a character, he can like look down at them, or he can look to the left, look to the right. So we have a bunch of different eyeballs that can look in different directions, and when you combine it with all the different heads, you have a lot of different variations there. It is neat to have that, but I'm also just thinking about, as a person who might potentially own this, it's like, where am I going to put all this extra crap that's not going to ever be used? I probably will never, once I have the figure set up and I have it in a pose I like, I'll probably never use any of the extra stuff that comes with the figure. I'm just thinking about, where am I going to store all this extra stuff that comes with the figure? That's my only concern there. But it is a cool detail. It is something that's pretty interesting. I think it's not quite like a, all right, I'll spend the $200, I'll spend the $300, however much this thing costs. It's not quite that, but it is something that's kind of like, okay, cool. That's a little bit more interesting. I might invest a little bit more money there for this figure. The next thing we got is the Detroit Steel, which we've seen this before. Obviously, we've seen it leaks, we've seen it through convention photos. We've seen all sorts of variations of this figure. But this is more of an official look. This is a PulseCon exclusive, is what they said, which is a bit of a bummer. I'd love to see this figure show up in stores. I don't like exclusives because you really you have to time it right for you to have access at these exclusives. Like for instance, for me, I don't get paid until next week. So for an exclusive to release this week would mean I miss out on it just by proxy of it didn't line up like that. Whereas for other things like convention exclusives, you have to be there to get it, and it's all a bunch of. It's very annoying as a collector to just miss out on this stuff for like no apparent reason other than they just didn't want to take the time to make it a wide release. That's a bummer. It is a cool looking figure. We've seen it before. I thought it was going to look more like the what if what's his name, the Ironmonger, I believe, the Steve Rogers version of the Ironmonger, which I have that figure. I thought it was going to be pretty much that body just painted blue and red, white, and blue. But it does have a lot of unique sculpt work going on for this figure. It has the two different arms. It has the Gatling gun, the chainsaw on the other arm. It looks very cool. If you're into mechas, this thing's pretty cool just on its own. This might be something you pick up just because you like mechas, because it looks that cool. It is a pretty decent looking figure. I don't know how much it costs. I assume based on the size, it's probably around the $50 range. These deluxe figures are normally around that price, so not something I am going to hunt down or try and get, but it is a pretty cool looking figure. Then next up, we got our first look at the first wave of 2024. They said some people might luck out. They might get it early 2024, late 2023, but it is intended as the first 2024 release. A lot of figures or a lot of characters I don't know too much about. Unfortunately, one of the figures being Power Princess, who I admit looks absolutely cool, but I just don't know anything about her. She does look like kind of like the Marvel version of Wonder Woman. So if you are one of those who make customs, I believe this is a great figure to just like make your own Wonder Woman, a Marvel Legends scale Wonder Woman, and I think that's absolutely wonderful. I think that would look amazing. She looks cool as a figure, as a person. This is also a figure, to be clear, we've seen this figure before. We've seen this one, the next one, and the one after that. Up to 4 of these figures we've seen, but this is the first time they've gone super in depth over them. But yes, we've seen Power Princess. She looks cool. The next one is Justice, who also looks pretty cool. Another character I don't know anything about. He is from, they said, the New Warriors. My only knowledge of the New Warriors would be the Civil War. I know Speedball was the one who kind of incited that whole event with his actions, and I guess this guy was another member of that team. I do like the way he looks. I love the way his cape kind of morphs into his shoulder. It looks absolutely wonderful. Very cool looking sculpt. I like the look of this figure. I think it looks pretty cool. Next up will be our new Vision. This is a new sculpt for Vision, a buff Vision. We've had kind of more skinnier versions of Vision. This is a slightly different version for those who need a new Vision. I do need a comic book Vision. I have the MCU version of Vision, White Vision. I actually need red and yellow Vision still, but I have White Vision. I also need comic book Vision, so this is a pretty cool looking Vision. I might have to pick him up. The next one is Crystar, who looks absolutely wonderful. Again, know nothing about him, but he looks cool. I like the sculpt work. I think he looks really, really neat. He's kind of translucent, kind of has that diamond looking feel, very angular, very like a block of ice somebody just cut into a shape of a person, and there you go. Looking cool. It's kind of like that Iceman figure we got from Age of Apocalypse, who also looked very, very cool. I know I saw somebody took that figure and they kind of sanded some of the edges and it made it look infinitely better. Not that it didn't look bad or didn't look good to begin with, but it just made it look so cool. I thought about doing that for my own figure, but since it's the only one I have, I don't want to ruin the one I have. I'd rather like buy another version and do it another version, but I digress. That's irrelevant. That's not really a part of this discussion. Then so yeah, that was the four we already knew about. The next few are the first time we're seeing them. Starting with Namor, Savage Namor to be more specific. This guy looks absolutely insane. I do love Namor. I think he looks great. Nice long wild hair, nice 90s facial hair, nice. He just looks so cool. But he is on a pin body, a very old looking body. Very disappointed in that. I don't like that. I think that looks pretty lame, to be honest. But we got his cousin, Namorita, very original name. I do love how the parents of these characters are like, well, we have Namor. What should we name this one? Namorita. You know, very, very clever there. She looks fine, I guess. Very basic looking figure. Nothing too crazy about her. But, you know, if you want to get the whole wave, you have to get her. And this is looking like a wave. You kind of want to get the whole wave. If once we get to the Build-A-Figure, you'll see what I mean. Next up is Black Panther. This is an amazing looking figure, but it also kind of looks like the exact same figure that we just got from the Black Panther 2 wave, the classic Black Panther, who had the cape and everything. Obviously, it's a slightly different cape, different little accessories, the gold necklace, the gold thing around his waist. There's some differences here and there. It is a cool looking Black Panther. If you missed out on the other one, I'd say go for this one because this one looks just as cool, if not better. I think they both look great. I think I prefer the one I have just because it has more of a classic looking feel. This one kind of feels like, I don't know, like you're playing Gotham Knights and you choose the Nightfall version of one of the characters where everything's just black and gold. It's cool. It just looks kind of like Aqua Batman. Like it's just like, here's another version of this character. But like I said, if you don't have a Black Panther, this is a wonderful looking Black Panther to add to your collection. It's just nothing that amazes me or wows me. The thing that does amaze me about this wave is the Build-A-Figure. This is a Build-A-Figure wave. And the Build-A-Figure that you get with this wave is, in fact, Void, to go along with that Sentry we got not too long ago. I think sometime last year, sometime this year. I got it this year, but I think it released last year. This character looks absolutely stunning. It's got a little bit of a translucent feel. Kind of the center of the body is more of a dark purple, but the edges of the body, if you shine a light through it, it looks so unbelievably crazy. So you have the more bug-like tendrils crawling out of his back. This guy looks absolutely insane. Looks like a giant meaty crab without its shell just crawling around. It's very gross looking, but it looks so cool. But yes, this goes along with the Sentry. I believe, if I had to take a guess, based on the feet alone, I think they have the Venom body and they built off of that. It's not 100% Venom. You can see there's some major differences throughout the body that kind of separate it from the Venom sculpt. But you can kind of see that they took the Venom body, the movie Venom body specifically, and they added to it to create this character who I think looks absolutely wonderful. I believe you can pre-order this one on 10/3/2023, so next month. Not too long. I believe about a week and a half, 2 weeks. The next thing they announced is finally, we all knew it was coming, we just had to know when. The Spider-Man No Way Home Wave 2. I believe we could call it Wave 2. I guess they're going to do 3 or 4 waves of this because there's just so many characters. Each of them need their own figures because they're all wonderful looking characters. The first one we got announced was MJ. We needed a new MJ. The last one we got is pretty dated, so this is a nice get to have. We do have that updated Peter. We have that Ned. They both look great. Needed an MJ to go along with them. She comes with that little cube box thing that they use in the movie to kind of send everybody back to their own reality, their own universe. So it's cool to have her as a figure, and she comes with a cool accessory, a nice accessory to have for your collection. Next up is Matt Murdock, who looks pretty good. They said this is a completely unique suit sculpt. I don't know if I agree with that. I don't know. They said it's pinless. Um, I'm trying to think if I remember any of the figures being pinless. Allegedly, this is the first time. I don't. I'm sure they're not lying, obviously. But I don't know if it looks that improved. To be perfectly honest, it's a good looking Matt Murdock. Obviously, I'm not like, oh, Matt Murdock, why? I'm very excited to have a Matt Murdock, but it is just a guy in a suit. He does come with his walking stick. He comes with the brick that he catches when they throw it in the movie. He catches the brick. He has that. He has the glasses. The glasses look absolutely awful. That's the only mark against this figure I really have is the glasses. I hate the way those look. Not a fan of those. But I'm excited nonetheless to have this figure in figure form, this character in figure form. Next up is Sandman. Super excited to have Sandman. He looks a little awkward, to be perfectly honest. He's completely in sand. There's no transitionary pieces here. There's no like shirt to sand ratio. Obviously, because in the movie he was fully sand because what's his name? Thomas Hayden Church or whatever his name is. He couldn't actually appear on set, so his character was completely CGI, and he just voiced over the character later on. So it's accurate to the movie, but he does look super awkward. I think. I think just he looks top heavy. His kind of ab crunch torso area looks a little goofy. It's using that kind of I don't know his name. It's a figure that just got announced. It's one of the more space-faring characters. I remember being red, then a golden stomach plate, and then like I think he had a cape and he had like blonde hair. I believe it's using that torso. Is my ultimate point here. And I think that looks a little bit goofy. I don't know what I would do. They mentioned that the last time we saw Sandman, he was a part of the Build-A-Figure wave in 2007, 2008 when Spider-Man 3 came out, way back when. Technically, that's the last time we saw this character, sure. Maybe give us like alternate legs or something to kind of thicken up that lower half. I think that's really the only issue here is that lower half looks a little wonky. The top half looks fine. It just sits on an awkward lower half, I think. But that's my only mark against that. I am happy to have Sandman in figure form, so you know. Then next up we finally they kind of went on a little story. They explained to us that after they watched the movies, they immediately said to each other, we got to get these characters in figure forms. Pre-order came out around 2022, sometime around then, and they actually couldn't get the rights to any of their faces. That was an issue. And then sometime last year, which I guess would be 2022, they got the rights to the faces, but these figures were too far into production. They couldn't actually release that 3-pack that we just got with the headless sculpts. So now, as all of these figures are going to be released individually, they finally have their headless sculpts. So we have all 3 Spider-Men with all 3 of their headless sculpts. Of course, we already had Tom, but Toby, Andrew, both of them, we did not have them headless or maskless. We did not have them maskless. We only had them with the mask on, no regular face, nothing like that. So now we finally have that, and they look great. It's a beautiful looking head sculpt. It's the exact same body as in the 3-pack. So if you already have that, maybe look on eBay for just the head sculpt, because you really don't need to buy the whole thing. Obviously, it's going to be tough to find that. I do feel bad for those who bought the 3-pack. I almost did until I heard there were a lot of QC issues. I was going to buy them because I love Spider-Man so much, trust me. But $90 and people are getting their figures shipped, missing paint and breaking, and there was just a lot of issues there that prevented me from buying them. And obviously, if you bought them, you kind of got the shit end of the stick, I think. Unfortunately, because these individual releases are, one, they're going to be cheaper, 20, 40, 60, 5, 10, 15. It's going to be maybe like $10 cheaper than it was in the 3-pack, and it's going to come with more things, I think. We actually don't know the prices yet. The pre-orders are supposed to come out today. In fact, I think they're out as I'm recording this video, but I don't actually know that just yet. But as you guys watch this video, the pre-order should be out, so you can go and pre-order these figures or the whole wave. But yeah, I think if you got the 3-pack, you kind of got a raw deal there. But Toby looks great. Andrew looks especially great. Whoever, I think the designer of these figures was one of the hosts, and he mentioned Andrew was his favorite Spider-Man, and that feels very apparent because Andrew's Spider-Man clearly has a lot more love and attention to his character. He just looks absolutely amazing. The sculpt looks amazing. The head sculpt looks amazing. Everything about Andrew's character clearly stands out as being among the best, I think. And then the thing that kind of excited me the most, Tom, I don't think I can say he's my favorite Spider-Man, but his costume at the end of No Way Home is my favorite costume, and we finally have that in figure form. We all hoped, maybe, potentially, eventually, we would get that, and today is the day they announced, yeah, that's the next Spider-Man figure in this wave. Tom Spider-Man will be wearing the costume he wore at the end of the movie, and it looks absolutely insane. It looks so beautiful in figure form. It looks so comic booky, but it looks lifelike, and it looks just the attention to detail. You have the raised webbing across the figure, which looks great, but it still has that comic book aesthetic, that comic book vibe. This looks like, literally, it looks like it's ripped straight from the comics, and it looks amazing. Obviously, the head sculpt is just using the one that we got from the Ned and Peter 2-pack. But it still looks amazing. This is a new Spider-Man head sculpt, or not head sculpt. This is a new Spider-Man body sculpt, a little bit skinnier. It kind of works for Tom Spider-Man. It kind of works if you just want a Spider-Man. This works. This is possibly, I haven't gotten the figure yet. I haven't seen the figure. I don't know anything about the figure. Based on these images and videos alone, this looks like the best Spider-Man figure we've ever gotten. I don't want to hype it up too much, obviously, because we can be let down, but it looks absolutely insane. It looks super wonderful. I'm so excited for this figure specifically because it looks so good. Trust me, Toby was my favorite Spider-Man growing up. I grew up with his movies. I also grew up with Andrew's movies. Technically, if we're existential about it, I grew up with all of their movies because that's kind of how time works. But Andrew is my guy, but Tom's Spider-Man, that costume just looks so amazing. So that's the one I want the most. I'm going to try and get my hands on this entire wave. That has been something I've threatened to do multiple times across multiple waves, and I just haven't been able to do it because it always happens to release on days I don't have money, and then it's too late. So unfortunately, I haven't been able to do that. But with this wave specifically, I'm gonna get Tom at least. I keep mixing up the names. I also want to get Andrew. I'm gonna get the Spider-Man at least, I think, and then I'm gonna try and get everybody else. So that's the entire wave. There is no Build-A-Figure, which I think is super interesting because I think there's about a dozen characters you can do for the Build-A-Figure for this wave. You could do a bigger, cooler looking Sandman. You could do Green Goblin. You could do Dr. Octopus. You could do multiple figures that would work as a Build-A-Figure wave. And this wave specifically, I think I would rather they do a Build-A-Figure wave because it just kind of, it works out better. It looks better. It feels better. It feels more valuable as a collector. But that's not the direction they went. So that's a bit of a bummer, unfortunately. But on the other hand, some people don't like that they have to buy an entire wave to get all the pieces for the Build-A-Figure. So, you know, like I said, on the other hand, it's not that big of a deal. It's pick your poison, I guess. Yeah. So Then after that, they officially announced the leaked Green Goblin. Obviously, if you are anywhere on the internet and you follow action figures, you probably saw this Green Goblin got leaked, and everyone saw it and they were blown away by how good it looked. And that's just from leaked photos. The leaked photos made this figure look so incredible. Just compared to like it's a obviously it's a deluxe figure, so it's going to be like $50-$60. But compared to the SH Figure Arts, which are like 100, 120, 130, etc., beyond, it looked as good as, if not better than those figures. And it's a Marvel Legends, which it really speaks to the quality this team is on. I really think they're hitting their stride. I really think the Marvel Legends team are stepping into a new era of quality. This whole PulseCon kind of reinvigorated my love for action figures again. Because for the past few months, I've been kind of like, there's a lot of characters I really don't care about. Unfortunately, I mean, I want them, but I don't want them that bad, and they're all kind of expensive, and everything kind of sucks, and it's QC issues, and blah 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 blah. This PulseCon kind of reminded me of like why I like action figures, and it brought me back to a day before I even started collecting, when I was just like looking through all these action figures and I was looking at these lists and I was like, wow, I really missed out on all these toys because they look so amazing. And then I get into collecting and the quality kind of dips. And now we're back to the point where I'm like, wow, look at all the stuff we're getting. It's so amazing. And this Green Goblin being one of them, it looks so amazing. You have the beautiful looking body sculpt. You have the Green Goblin mask. You have the Norman Osborn head sculpt. You have the pumpkin bombs. And then the glider on top of that. That glider looks absolutely insane. It looks so wonderful. It articulates. It bends in half. It crunches up, where he stands on him, the where he puts his feet, they move a little bit so he can have a little bit more stability while being on the glider. Everything about it just works. It looks so good. It looks like just an amazing figure. So I can't wait to have this. And then they weren't even done there. The next one that got announced is the Dr. Octopus. More specifically, it looks like this is the one from Spider-Man 2, not necessarily the one from No Way Home, which, if you go by the movies, technically they're the same version, but in No Way Home it is different. He has the nanites on his tentacles. He obviously looks a bit older. His hair is a little bit shaggier. He wears a different outfit. Things are different about him, but in Spider-Man 2, he looks a little bit different, and that's the version I'm seeing here. And then on the box, obviously, it says Spider-Man 2. So there might be a way you can kind of finagle it and say, well, they're from both. And it works that way because that's kind of how it is. But this is, in my eyes, Spider-Man 2 Doc Ock. That's how I see it. I don't see it as No Way Home Doc Ock because they are technically distinct characters in my eyes. But this also looks amazing. Obviously, the articulation looks a little bit wonky on him because they can't really do too much with him. They can have his lower half be articulated well, but his top half is where run into more issues. But what I'm seeing here, I don't mind that. Get rid of the articulation and just give me a good looking figure, because that's what they did. It looks like similar to the animated series Doc Ock, his lower half of his stomach kind of swivels in that little area where it swivels, and that's about it. You obviously have the trench coat that's going to limit articulation anyways, so it makes sense for them to go in that direction with the figure. Limit the ab articulation just to have a better looking sculpt, and that's what they did. And then to make up for that fact, they have the bendy wire tentacles, which look absolutely amazing. You have two different versions of them. So you have the versions that can plant on the ground to kind of lift them up in the air, which looks so amazing. That looks so good. I love whoever came up with that. Pay that man $1 billion, because that looks absolutely amazing. It looks beautiful. They said the bendy wires are pretty stiff in order to pull off something like that. And then on the other version of the tentacles, Okay, let me reiterate. The tentacles, you have 4 tentacles. That's it. But the heads of the tentacles, the parts that open and close and move and talk to Doc Ock, those are the alternating versions. Kind of like swapping hands. That's all that's changing here. You're not actually swapping out the whole, however long they are, the whole 8 inches of tentacles. You're not swapping those out. You're just swapping out the little bits at the end. So you have the ones that kind of plant you on the ground, and then the other ones are the ones that kind of articulate. They kind of open and close. Like in the movie, he would talk to them, and they would kind of like move like snakes. They kind of would open up their mouths, even though they couldn't speak. That's what's going on there, and it looks absolutely amazing. Looks pretty good. I'm so happy with both of these, the Green Goblin, the Doc Ock. I was happy enough with the Green Goblin, but then Doc Ock came out, and I'm like, fuck, I'm gonna be so poor for so long. But I'm so happy too because it all looks amazing. And then I guess I skipped over this. At the start of the show, they announced they wanted to do a poll. Fans could vote, and whatever they voted on at the end, they would reveal whatever is coming soon. We had the option of a first-time character, a Comic-Con exclusive, or like a redo, and a character that had like an alternate head sculpt. I don't know what those other two mean, or I guess the last one. I don't know what that means. It's an alternate head sculpt that has a full body attached to it. What does that mean? I don't know. But the one that won the poll is a first time character. So this is a character that hasn't had a figure yet, and it is Red Widow. And that is the biggest like wet fart because I know nothing about this character. I don't care about this character. Doesn't look like anything I care about. It's a cool looking figure, obviously. They're always cool looking figures. But if I don't care about the character, it's kind of like something I'll wait for a clearance on, you know. Beyond that, I don't really give a crap. I gotta try and limit my cursing. I almost said the F word. But I don't really care about this character. It goes along with some characters. He was talking, I kind of stopped paying attention at that point. He was talking about how it fits alongside other characters. I don't know who. Like I said, I wasn't paying attention. I don't know if this is a part of a wave or single release. It doesn't seem substantial enough to be a single release, but you know. But yeah, so that is PulseCon. Like I said, there was plenty of other news and information you could find out about other toy lines in Pulse, Hasbro PulseCon, because Hasbro obviously is bigger than Marvel. They also have Transformers, Power Rangers, G.I. Joe, all those other figures. I just don't collect those, so I don't really care about them. But if you do, there you go. Go hunt down that information. I'm sure there's another toy YouTuber out there who has that information for you. I don't, if I talked about everything that they talked about, this would be 5 hours long, and I can't do that. So thank you guys so very much for watching this with me. Please let me know what interested you about the PulseCon. Like I mentioned, I thought this was a great showcase. I thought there was a lot of cool stuff showing off, even though I didn't know every character. I don't need to know every character, so I was super happy with what was shown, super excited for the future of Hasbro Marvel Legends. I think there's a lot of goodness coming out in the future, so like I said, let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. Leave a like, leave a comment, leave a subscribe, all the things YouTubers ask you to do. Just do it for me as well, and I will be back with another video, hopefully very, very soon. Bye.